Turning now to the press review, Deepti Laurent is here to take us through the papers. Deepti, you're starting with an article in the New York Times. It says Israel had a year's warning of the Hamas attacks back in October.
Yeah, that's right, Sharon. According to the New York Times investigation, Israeli officials got hold of Hamas's battle plan for the October 7th terror attacks over a year before the attacks happened, but Israeli military and intelligence officials had really dismissed it as aspirational. In other words, they just never believed that Hamas would be ambitious enough or to go out they really believed that the battle plan will be simply too difficult for Hamas to carry out. Yet it was carried out, and the New York Times notes that it was carried out with stunning precision to that very battle plan. Furthermore, the battle plan also contained highly sensitive information pertaining to the Israeli military forces, raising suspicions about a possible leak from inside Israel's security establishment. Elsewhere in the paper, a lot of focus on hostages freed in that truce yesterday. This is from Le Parisien, the French paper, focusing on the freeing of Miachem, a French-Israeli citizen. The fate of 3 other French citizens remains unknown.
Turning now to the COP28, Deepti, the first day, as we've been reporting, marked by landmark announcement of a fund by 200 nations to support the countries that are most vulnerable to climate change. How's that being covered in the papers?
Well, with a lot of jubilation in the Emirati press, the United Arab Emirates announced $100 million towards this loss and damaged fund. The EU followed up shortly afterwards with $246 million, and that fund has now gone well over $400 million with contributions from the US, UK, and Japan as well. The Emirati press, as I said, are really hailing this early victory. They've, of course, come under heavy criticism about even hosting the summit. In its editorial pages, National today hails the inclusivity and openness of the COP28, while also noting that tomorrow marks Union Day back in 1971, when rulers of 6 Emirates, eventually 7, came together and formed the United Arab Emirates. So the paper really noting the timing of this coinciding with what it sees as the inclusivity of the summit. And in this article here, the paper explains how Dubai is becoming a pioneer in climate change innovation out of sheer necessity. Soaring temperatures there could make it uninhabitable for future generations.
A different take in Africa. Deepti, leaders there see the fund as being inadequate.
Well, that's right. Somewhat tempered, the sort of jubilation in the Emirati press is somewhat tempered by this article, at least from our colleagues at RFI, which talks about how, at least by some African states, see this fund as a half measure. First of all, it's insufficient to cover the real cost of the devastation caused by various climate change catastrophes on the continent. Critics also argued that the non-binding aspect of this fund means that countries could also withdraw their contributions at a whim if their priorities change. Let's also show you the Independence front page today, a very striking front page in which it asks, what on earth are they all waiting for? Act now before the sun sets on our planet. A very striking front page there from the British Daily.
They're no stranger to scandal. The British royal family in the headlines again. Comes after a new book written by a friend of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. It accuses 2 royals of racism. Tell us about that.
Well, you might remember that Meghan Markle spoke about allegedly enduring racist comments from royal members when she was pregnant with her first child. Well, in the Dutch translation of this new book called Endgame by Omid Smoby, a friend of Harry and Meghan Markle's, the 2 royals are named as King Charles and Kate Middleton as having been the authors, or allegedly the authors, of those racist remarks. Smoby says he never included the 2 names in the original book in English, but apparently somehow the names have appeared in the Dutch translation. The Dutch translator says for her part, she just translated what was given to her, and that included the names. Anyway, the damage has been done, and there's a lot of sympathy in the British press today for Kate Middleton and King Charles. You have the Daily Express here saying it's an injustice to name the royals in this race row since they have no effective way of defending themselves. Royal sources say the palace may be considering legal action now.
Finally, from you, Deepti, astronomers say they've discovered a parallel solar system 100 light years away from Earth. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the findings reported in the journal Nature this week, Sharon, astronomers discovered 6 planets orbiting a bright star in perfect resonance. Only 1% of systems preserve this symmetry, simply because most of the time planetary orbits get knocked out of sync because of some massive gravitational event. This discovery, this solar system that's essentially perfectly intact, could also explain how our own solar system came to be the way it is. Speaking of outer world, let's just end on this. The frontman of the Pogues, Shane McGowan, passing away. A lovely tribute from the Irish Daily today to him. We loved you, baby, the paper says, a reference, of course, to the Pogues' famous song, Fairy Tale of New York.
Deepti, thank you so much for that. That's Deepti Laurent joining us there with our press review.